You say slow down. I don't like to move too fast. It drowns the truth with things that are not real.
Welcome back to another week living in Paris, but this week we are going up to Freiburg, Germany, and Strasbourg, France, and a couple of other places up in France. It is a weekend trip, so first half of the vlog is going to be that, then the second half coming back down to Paris to have more of a chill weekend, end of the week. So let's get into it. Thursday after class, we took the Gare Lyon up to Strasbourg, all the way up in the north of France, and checked into our hostel. Luckily, I was staying with the other girls in my program. Settled in for the night and got some sleep because the next day we had to be up bright and early to go to the European Parliament, which is up in Strasbourg. There is 2 in Europe and 1 is in Strasbourg. So we walked in and you had to sign in with your passport and get an ID badge with your legal name. It's shaped as an oval, so this is what you're seeing here before you actually get past the second round of security to go to the visitor section. And they had these really cool like live plants, took pictures in front of all the flags, and then you got to listen to like a, what I would say like TED Talk lecture in the actual oval room where they hold hearings and get to learn about it. After the hour it took to get through that, I went down to the cafe, had a peach tart and some Coke, and then went to the restroom, and they had free tampons and pads, so I did take 2 of each because we don't get that in America. Said goodbye after about 3 hours to the European Parliament, and then we had a tour around Petite France. This area is absolutely gorgeous, but it was raining on us up until this point. So we just walked around. I believe this was an old prison right here that you're about to see. I don't know, but there was a bunch of little areas, Strasbourg, France, and Alice, France. Apparently this area loves Christmas, and I love a souvenir. So then we stumbled upon this little souvenir shop that is Christmas themed year round, which is so cool. I had to buy things. So this place, it's Christmas year round, and the store is here. It's so cute. If I had more stuff in my storage, I'd buy so much stuff for my mom. The only way I could describe the store is it is akin to like a mini warehouse of stuff. I almost walked home with this magnet because I have a husky, but I didn't need it for 10 euros. Aren't these so cute? It says j'adore and then your animal in French. And then you walk around. It has every single Christmas theme you can imagine in here. Like there's bulbs, and there's, if you're doing an all white Christmas, there's glass ones, there's magnets, Christmas magnets year round. So I did get some magnets. Honestly, I had only bought a backpack for this weekend instead of a carry-on like suitcase, or else I would have bought so many things, because look at this place. Like it is your Christmas heaven. I can't even begin to imagine. Like imagine me bringing home a wreath of this size. They had the knockoff Uggs, which I almost bought. I'm very susceptible to good marketing. I will buy things I do not need, but this place was so cool, especially like getting into the theme of Christmas, even though we were there in June, and there's tote bags and everything. And then what was funny about this attendant is she wanted to practice her English and we wanted to practice our French, but she was like, I love speaking English. So we just had a conversation in English with the checkout clerk. Then we went down to Alice, France. I saw this carousel that I wanted to get on badly, but I did not. And we walked down to their Cathedral de Notre Dame, and everyone was waiting around in the back for some reason here. And it's because at 4 p.m. they have this like old cuckoo clock at every hour on the hour that comes out, and we were there at 4 p.m. so we got to see it go off. But it was a gorgeous like Gothic church. We actually went back to take photos and eat by there. I had some like the best noodles I've ever had around there at this little pho spot before we went back to the hostel, because we had to be up bright and early at the Strasbourg train station to go to Mulhouse, which is a city in Upper France, because we were meeting the mayor of Mulhouse in a little one-on-one meeting. So it was a little bit more of a conservative dress day, but we also stopped at this little bakery to grab breakfast before we met the mayor of Mulhouse, and he talked about how like they actually have some of the wealthiest French people who live there, but also some of the poorest, and how they're trying to bridge that gap. And they gave us this goodie bag full of stuff after talking to the mayor for about 20 minutes. So here's a little unboxing. I'll unbox it more in depth in a different video, but a little journal, a tote bag, mints, a mug, a pen. There was so much stuff, and obviously my friend T is trying to take over my haul. They gave us so much stuff, and it was like having to lug it back down to Paris was hilarious, but eternally grateful. It was so nice to meet the mayor. They were so nice, and actually I would recommend going to Mulhouse at some point if you can. Then we went to the biggest market that they have, an outdoor market. I didn't actually end up buying anything because we were staying in a hostel and I couldn't get any fresh fruit. And I wanted this traditional garb for the Islamic church, but they didn't have my grandma's size because I do volunteer there. So then we went down in another little area of Mulhouse and we saw their temple, which kind of reminded me of the Notre Dame temple cathedral we already saw. And in this area, they actually had a carousel. Yes, I did get on the carousel. Look at it. Oh my gosh. We did have to ask our professor if she could talk to the attendant because we didn't speak fluent French, and see if they would allow two 23-year-olds to get on the carousel, and they said yes. So we paid our fee. We stopped at another bakery before we took the bus up to Colmar, I believe, which is where Beauty and the Beast is based off of. And they have a Statue of Liberty recreation. Again, a Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. So they have a mini version, and it's just like on the side of the street of the highway, like a median, right by their little airport. And then we went to the little town where Beauty and the Beast is based off of for a bit, walked around, and this place is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I can't believe this is real. Obviously, you can tell how the movie was based off of this area. Look at it. We had some ice cream, and something about France I've noticed is everything you're gonna get that's fruit flavored is gonna be peach or mango flavored. We had dinner reservations at this place called Le Medio, which apparently they sell Strasbourg pizza, which are like these flatbreads. They're very good. They're very thin. I would akin it to like a tortilla thinness. Now, they were supposed to light it on fire. Apparently, they don't light all of them on fire, but we scarfed these down. In total, I had 8 slices, which is about 1 pizza. And then there was a competition with the other people who were eating. I think the top number was 23 slices, but they were so thin. While we watched some FIFA game that was playing, I don't know which one at this point. And I should mention, the way we were getting around was we had a weekend bus pass, and then when we were taking trains to different cities, those were all pre-bought. But those are relatively cheap in France, maybe like $20 a ticket. I think the most I paid was $100 from Nice to Paris, and that was a 6-hour train ride. So it's relatively pretty inexpensive to get around. Went back to the hotel, and then our next day we had to be up bright and early because we were taking the train to Freiburg, Germany, which is just across the border in not like a 2.5 hour maybe train ride away from Strasbourg. This was our last day on this little trip. So we arrived here and we saw that they were having mass. Obviously it was Sunday. We walked around. Now, I didn't know everything in Germany is closed on Sunday, and I was so used to hearing French everywhere I went that hearing people speak German, yeah, that messed with my head. So nothing was open. We ended up in a McDonald's after like wandering the area, and they had a McVeggie and I had a matcha latte, and it was probably like the best food I had. It was so good. Before we wandered over to their cathedral, they were doing like church outside here too. It was a little culty, okay? I don't know. The minister was giving a little culty. And they had a gift shop, which was like my main reason. I had to buy shirts and a cuckoo clock. I did not buy a cuckoo clock, but look at this cuckoo clock wall. Before we ended up at the top of a beer garden because the Germans do that. Now, I didn't record it, but we did have a pint, some peach tea, and they were playing the Germany FIFA game. We also had a pretzel before we had to get back on the train and head all the way back to Strasbourg to come all the way back down to Paris in order to be in class by Monday. So it was a long travel day, but it was fun. I can say I've been to Germany. Berlin, no, but to Germany. And the views were absolutely gorgeous. You can see the difference in architecture between Germany and France, like just between crossing the border. The Black Forest, which is actually where the cake gets its name from, is right there. Like, that's literally what I was looking at. So it was beautiful seeing the lake and everything. You can't beat the views you see in Europe. So forever grateful for that. But I was exhausted. And the funny thing about Upper France is Leclerc is everywhere. So if you're an F1 fan, you can literally see places called Leclerc everywhere. It's a common last name, I guess. So tonight is the first night that France plays in the World Cup, and my makeup has melted off because it's hot here and they don't do air conditioning. So we stopped and got some jerseys. So we first went to a decathlon, right? And there was only 3 in the one we went to. So 3 other girls got them, right? So then I went to a place called Kabai, and they had these. These are all little boys, okay? All size 12 because that's all they have. And these were €7 each. So I picked one up for me and a friend. And then my stop to get home has a decathlon, and I saw they had a bunch of the youth ones, so I picked up that for myself and my friend, and I'm just going to keep these. So that one was €10, these were €7, and yeah. We ended up watching the game, which is at 10 p.m. Paris time, at a local Korean barbecue spot where 2 of the girls lived in the 12th arrondissement. It was so good, a fun night. And then Wednesday after class, I just went to the grocery store. I was tired. I wanted to catch up on sleep. I don't think I went one night without more than like 6 hours of sleep that whole 6 weeks I was there. So I got a sweet treat. We were experiencing our second heat wave, and then I ordered Dumbo Pigalle again, which was so good. And I had one of my favorite French desserts, which is like this chocolate mousse you can buy Friday at the store. Thursday, we made reservations at this cheap French restaurant that I had seen on TikTok to actually try authentic French food. Normally, we would just wander for a place to eat after class or eat in the cafeteria, and the food was not great. So we tried escargot. Well, they tried escargot because I'm a vegetarian, and they just said it was like, it was okay. It was really hot in here. They had beef taro, foie gras, like a bunch of these French dishes, and it was all just kind of meh. Afterwards, because we wanted air conditioning and we were literally sweating in that restaurant, we went to the Galeries Lafayette, which was kind of across the city, for the air conditioning to see the beautiful views and get to the top of the building to see a view of all of Paris. And that was the end of this week. Galeries Lafayette is a must-see when you're in Paris. Even just to window shop all the expensive designer brands and lust after purses that I really, really want but could not afford. That is vlog number 3, including the first weekend trip of the trip. Next week, we are going to the Louvre and a couple more things with the last week of school finally upon us. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. All my social media is down below, and make sure you catch up on all the Paris vlogs before next week. Love you, midnight kisses, do nothing stupid, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.